Would you like to learn about the enterprise architecture process? If so, this video is for you. In today's video, we're going to discuss how to effectively design an enterprise architecture, a cloud architecture, or really any other architecture that's going to provide real business value for your clients. Now, the key to providing real business value is going to be aligning the organization's business needs and the organization's technology. Now, in order to do that, it's going to take a set of steps, and that's what we're going to discuss in this video. So let's discuss the steps for success to effectively design an enterprise architecture. Now, I brought up a graphic to kind of help assist along the way. The first stage of the enterprise architecture process is truly to meet with the executive sponsors. Who are the executive sponsors for the project? Do they have funding for the project? An identification of them. Now, ideally, the executive sponsors are the C-suite, but because it's hard, as close as we get to the C-suite, the easier it'll be to actually sell the architecture later on. But identifying who the executive sponsors are and meeting with them. Determining the vision of the architecture. What are we trying to achieve? Are we trying to increase sales on an e-commerce website? Are we trying to create predictions so a business can make better decisions? Are we trying to enhance employee productivity? That's that critical phase that we need to know under here. What are we trying to achieve? Now, with that, we need to understand the business requirements that are going to go with that actual vision. And we also need to scope the architecture to determine, is it everything in the organization, or is it one small thing like the security, like the network, or a new application we're trying to add to the business? We have to identify key stakeholders here. Now, this is who we need to speak to along the way to make sure that our architecture is going to work for the business. So we'll be communicating with a tremendous amount of stakeholders along the way. And that's about 50% of the enterprise architect's time and the enterprise architect's job, cloud architect's job too, is communicating with stakeholders, understanding the stakeholder needs, what have you. Now, after we know where we're going, we really need to look at the business as a business and how that business operates, how that business is structured, the business is strategic, what have you. So here's where we need to really map out the organization chart, see who's the leadership along the way. We need to identify the key business processes and how that organization actually operates. So what is the process to sell? What is the process to service a product? What is the process to receive customer support? What is the process for everything? And here's the reason why. When we throw technology in the equation, it could change the way people work. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. So we want to figure out the ideal way for someone to work and then figure out the ideal technology to help them do their jobs better here. Well, at least to figure out the ideal way to work here, and later we'll figure out the technology to support it. But we also have to look at the business capabilities. Typically, you see about a business capability map. We create them in this phase. What is that business good at? What are their capabilities, and how do we strengthen them later? That's really what we're talking about, and along with the value streams, the step-by-step things that occur to make the organization's product value or how they generate value, what have you, along the way. Now, this up here is going to take a tremendous amount of our time. Realistically speaking, at least 50-60% of what we do as enterprise architects. Now, the next real phase is to truly determine what our current data architecture is, what our current application architecture is, what our current technology architecture. By technology, we think infrastructure, whether it's our data centers, our clouds, and the technology in them that supports the business. We need to figure out what our starting point is. And then we need to design that future state architectures here of what we actually design in order to support the new business capabilities or new processes we've identified in the previous step. So that's realistically what we're designing here. And these are technology level architectures at this decision. It could be cloud provider A, cloud provider B. It could be this many servers here, this many servers there. But at the same time, these are not deep solutions architectures yet. These are technology architectures of the past and then the future. Now, once we get to this create the solutions architecture phase, this is where we identify vendors and determine what we're using. So for example, if we determined that we were going to put 50% of our workloads in AWS and the other 50% in the Google Cloud, and we needed 5,000 virtual machines in each cloud, they would be the EC2 instances in AWS, and they'd be compute engine instances in Google. It would be elastic block storage in the AWS cloud versus the Google equivalent. So that's realistically what we're doing. We're swapping out technology with specific technology in the solutions architecture phase. And often the solutions architects really do this or help us with this, at least as enterprise architects. Now, the next phase here is going to be migration planning. Okay, what are we doing? How are we doing it? Do we have a move? And what are the steps along the way? So if we want to do some new architecture, do we need to upgrade the network first? Do we need to upgrade something second along the way? But what is the plan? How many people do we need? How long is it going to take? And that's really where we're going in that migration planning phase, to figure out how and where we're going to move it and what would be the process, what we need, the capabilities of the people we need, to the organization have the capability to support it, what have you. And then the last phase is really where we set up governance. And we need governance in lots of places. Governance for the implementation of the architecture, some of the people that are going to be building it. Governance around a change management structure, if and when a change is identified that needs to occur. What is the process to get it done? Architectural review boards, for example, to make sure we create a governance structure to make sure that when someone wants to change the network, others can assess the impact to see how that works for the organization. So that's realistically what we're talking about. So in this video, we talked about the enterprise architecture process. We talked in generic terms versus any industry-specific, say, frameworks. Now, if you'd like to become an enterprise architect or a cloud architect or a security architect, we hold 2 free weekly architecture webinars where we'll go over the architectural role of your choice, like an enterprise architect or a security architect or a cloud architect. We will talk about the skills you need in the role to actually get hired. And we'll talk about how you can stand out and the steps you should take to be successful and get your first architect job, regardless if it's an enterprise architect, solutions architect, cloud architect, what have you. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell to be notified of new videos to assist you in your enterprise architect career, cloud architect career, security architect career. And I hope to see you in another video or another free webinar. And I can meet you live on Zoom and we can hold the conversation. Take care, everyone, and we will see you soon.